everybody starts chasing once they figure out the money problem, right? And everybody's got a money problem. Once you figure out how to drive what you want, eat what you want, live where you want to live, the world gets really boring if there's nothing else there. And so being able to hone in on, why am I here? Who can I help? And how should I help them? If you can answer those 3 questions, your life gets a lot of meaning really quickly.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Jerome Myers helps people make their dreams a reality. In case you don't remember, Jerome came back on the show on May 9th of 2021 in episode number 161. Jerome, I don't know what episode number this will be. We'll probably be pushing 575 or 580 by the time you come on. So almost 400 episodes later. I certainly enjoyed our conversation there on the first episode. We talked a lot about your 4-step process to buying real estate, talked a lot about what you guys were doing and how you were doing it. I think today maybe we're going to take this show a little bit different direction, but either way, welcome to the show.
Sam, grateful to be back with you. You guys are crushing it. 500 plus episodes released by you. Come on, man. You got a commitment to this thing that most people only imagine being possible. So thank you so much for being so grateful or gracious enough to let me come hang out with you for a little bit today.
The pleasure is all mine. There are 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show. You answered this the last time, but for just in case people didn't listen to that episode, and maybe they don't remember, because again, that was 400 and something episodes ago. In 90 seconds or less, can you tell me, where did you start? Where are you now? And how did you get there?
Oh man, where did I start? I'm laughing because you said 90 seconds, right? So
right.
Where did I start? My first deal, let's talk about deals. My first deal was in Richmond, Virginia. I had just left corporate America, a little less than a year out. We got that thing done. Moved to North Carolina after that and started buying and building a portfolio here. Did a number of deals. We've sold off of that first deal in Richmond. We're working on a development deal here in Greensboro, and we've got a small portfolio, few properties here where we've done them through joint ventures. So that's kind of my track record in multifamily to this point.
Gotcha. Very, very good. Now, again, if you want to go back and listen to that episode, Jerome gave you some really, really good insights onto how to find opportunity. Even a year ago, we were talking about just the difficulty of finding opportunity. You kind of pulled back the curtain on what it takes and how you guys were specializing in certain size of units and locations and saying, hey, this is the way that, and I remember that. I didn't even have to research this. I remember our conversation from that, which I can't say I remember a lot of conversations because, that's 400 and something episodes ago, but I was like, man, this guy's on to something. So, if you want to go back and listen to that, highly recommend that. Again, it had published on May 9th. Of 2021. But tell me something that you are passionate about now. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time maybe today talking about nitty-gritty real estate, because again, you can get Jerome's insight on the last episode, but tell me what you're passionate about today that really gets you out of bed in the morning.
So Sam, there's a lot of people who feel like money is the ultimate goal. And so they self-actualize. They get to the place they got prosperity. They can vacation where they feel like they want to. They can stay at the level of hotel they want to. They probably drive the car that they really enjoy. And they've got a pretty good idea of when they're going to be able to retire. But, and this is a big but, the majority of them still have this empty feeling inside. They're questioning whether or not their life matters or if there's truly meaning. And helping people go from that place of self-actualization to transcendence is a thing that has just had me the most excited over the past 9 months. I really had a hard time saying that I was a coach even a year ago. And back in the fall, I actually did a lot of self-reflection, spent a lot of time and money flying around the country, trying to get in rooms with people who are further along on their journey to see if there was a way that I could kind of overcome this split identity, maybe a schizophrenic that I had, where it was like, hey, I'm the multifamily guy. And every now and again I coach, to, no, I'm a coach who has specific expertise, specialized expertise in multifamily investing. And I own that fully today. And I just watch so many folks out there trying to catch the next thing, the next achievement, the next dollar. And they risk everything that's actually meaningful in order to achieve that. And I'm just on this mission to help people find out what their real purpose is. And then how can they actually orient their life in a way that they can actually earn a living from that.
Yeah, and I think that's an important distinction. There was somebody I had I was interviewing just before you and I jumped on here, and he was just talking about starting, not necessarily, and we've all heard it, start with your why, but and that's I think it's a foundational part of the equation. Is start with what drives you, and then build your business, around that meets that need or whatever it is that creates that drive. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. And it sounds like that's where you have really gone when you say, I don't want to be a coach, but yet at the same time, helping people kind of, figure that thing out. It sounds like where you are right now. And then, if they have real estate it's involved with as well, then that's just, icing on the cake. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's really easy for me to justify my value if somebody does a real estate transaction during the time that we're working together, because I'm either going to help them negotiate a better deal for themselves on the purchase, or I'm going to help them get more money on the exit from the proceeds when they're negotiating offers with the person who's purchasing from them. So that part makes it really easy. That also is probably the largest transaction that most people do, unless they build a business and then they sell that business. But even then, I'm there in an advisory capacity, and I can help them figure out how to, because we do the real estate stuff, get their net operating income up to a place where it makes it more attractive to other folks. Also with the system implementation piece, because businesses that have a manager in place and that's not the owner sell for a higher multiple than those that don't. And so being able to guide people or be an advisor in those transactions, in addition to helping them optimize their life experience or live a centered life, as we call it in our world, I think is the entire game for people to get that last level. So our model's got 6 layers, and significance. Some people call it immortality. Other people call it legacy, is the thing that everybody starts chasing once they figure out the money problem, right? And everybody's got a money problem. They have some living expenses. They've probably got some transportation expenses. There's some food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Once you figure out how to drive what you want, eat what you want, live where you want to live, the world gets really boring if there's nothing else there. And so being able to hone in on, why am I here? Who can I help? And how should I help them? If you can answer those 3 questions, your life gets a lot of meaning really quickly.
I think that's brilliant. Who can I help and how can I help them? I'm going to write that down. Who can I help and how can I help them? I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. I love that sixth level of significance, because as you said, there's so many people who've gotten all the way to the top only to find out there's nothing there. And that's a scary and lonely place to be.
Some people kill themselves when they get there.
Right.
Because they did all of the work only to find out that there's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
The pot of gold was the journey. It was becoming the person you had to be in order to get to that place. But, one guy, he had his first $100,000 month last month, and he usually feels a great sense of remorse once he achieves his goal. But he is clicking his heels, and he was like, man, I got to do it again, because it wasn't the money. It was the person he had to become in order to be able to generate that type of revenue. And so now he's got to prove to himself that he can do it over and over and over again. And so now he wants to go from a business that was probably doing 300,000 to one that's doing $1 million, because he sees that it's possible. He's becoming and owning that he is that person.
Right.
And I think there's a person that we have to be in order to earn. And then there's a person that we have to be in order to help or impact. And that impact is probably the only thing that most people are going to talk about when they get to the end of the road.
Right.
They're not going to know that they made an extra $100,000. They're not going to know that there's another $1 million in the net worth. Like none of that is ever really going to matter. But being able to tell the story of the person that they helped who was dealing with the challenge that they didn't know how to overcome, and you gave them a path or a product in order to fix that problem. And then when they look at you in admiration because they don't know how they would have gotten there without you, there's no amount of money that's worth that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't replace that.
Right.
And
Right.
so, there's a lot of people who are promising folks, hey, we're going to help you make a lot of money. And that's great. But I work with the people who've already figured out how to make money, and they want to make a lot of impact. And, the more people that I work with who impact more people helps me achieve my mission, which is freeing 100 people from work they're not passionate about. I think a lot of folks are going and doing something because it pays well.
Right.
And I'm guilty. That's how I know that this problem exists. But the reality of the situation is like, if you're in purpose and on purpose, you'll make more money than you ever made when you were doing something just because it paid well.
Right. No, I love that. It sounds like there was a catalyst event or maybe a series of events that kind of woke you up to this reality in your own life. Is that a fair assessment?
Without question. Right. So I was in corporate America. I started on January 13th of 2015. I was employee number 2 in the division. And by September 30th, we had 175 employees on my team.
Wow.
By the end of the year, we'd done $20 million in revenue. And I get a call on December 24th at 4:55, and it goes something like this. Hey, Jerome, we're going to lay about half of them off. I said, no, we're not. Jerome, you and I have been going back and forth on this for a few weeks, and I've made a decision, and about half the folks have to go. Yeah, no, that's not the right answer. Jerome, this isn't a debate. This is not a discussion. I'm informing you of a decision that's been made. And of course, I retort, and then it's 4:59. Hey, Jerome, I'm going to go spend the rest of the year with my family. I'll talk to you in the new year. And then the phone goes dead. And I was like, well, how do I make this as objective as possible? How do I make sure that somebody doesn't say, oh, well, they just kept the people who were their friends? Because I think that's what happens all the time. And so I went and found every performance metric that I could find to evaluate the staff on in a way that would leave them with no question about whether or not they should be there or they shouldn't be there. And when we got done with that, I was like, man, they made me do it. Right? It was me that had to do it, because if I didn't, then I was going to lose the F-150 and I was going to lose the salary and the bonus and all this stuff. And then I was standing in front of the room 2 days before Thanksgiving of 2016. And I said, hey guys, don't spend all your money on Black Friday because I'm unsure what's going to happen between now and the end of the year. And it was at that point, because I thought I was a big leadership guy, I thought I knew what I was doing, that I felt like I lost all of my leadership credibility. And it was at that point that I realized that I couldn't stay in the matrix. I had to drop out because they didn't make me do it. I chose to do it.
Right.
Because I didn't want to experience the consequences of not doing it.
Right.
I didn't actually have the true autonomy. The buck didn't really stop with me. I talked to my supervisor every other week. I saw him once a quarter. And in my head, I was running it. It was my show. But the reality was he could still swoop in and tell me what to do or what not to do. It just didn't sit well with me. So Sam, I decided that I was going to go do something different, because I didn't want anybody telling me that my team, who made $6 million in profit the year before, needed to go find somewhere else to work. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, man, I've not spent a day in corporate America, and I can't say I ever longed to. And you hear stories like that, and you go, nope. I'm glad I didn't go down that road. That's incredibly tough. And it sounds like that's the story that led you into real estate, and then specifically into multifamily. Was there a time even inside of multifamily though, when you hit that, hit pay dirt, and then at the same time, you go, gosh, I'm earning, but maybe I am or I'm not impacting the way I want to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this one's a good one. So how do I tell this story? So when I was a junior level engineer, I worked at corporate headquarters of a company that had a little over 17,000 employees.
Wow.
And there were 88 executives, and there was one African-American man that was an executive at the company. And I would see Craig in the parking garage, in the hallways from time to time. And I always say, Craig, you let me know that it's possible for me to be an executive here because you're one. And he would always, as gentle as he could be, say, Jerome, it doesn't matter what your race is. Just be the best engineer you can be until you get a promotion to the best supervisor you can be, and then be the best manager you can be, then the best director you can be, and then the best vice president you can be. And then one day you'll be able to run a business unit just like me. Just be the best in the role that you're in. None of the other stuff matters. And I was like, yeah, I hear you, but I see you, and you give me hope that it's possible for me too. And then I started going to conferences. I started going to meetups. I didn't know that was a thing before I started buying stuff.
Right.
And I would get in the back of the room, and there'd be a group of 3, maybe 6 of us. And somebody would whisper, where's all the black people? Because nobody was on stage. Nobody was speaking. And they had to whisper, right? And I just got tired of people whispering that question in the back of the room. Right. Because there were some people having some success, including me, and I wasn't telling my story. And so I was doing a disservice because Craig was an executive. His picture was on the website. And I was like, man, I'm just over here doing my thing. I'm not really telling anybody about it. I'm not showing them that it's possible for them. And then I had to dig in and say, you know what? As uncomfortable as this is, as much as I don't want to be on social media with my face or pictures of myself or any of this other stuff, as much as I don't really want to get up and do public speaking or try to present at conferences or risk being rejected by asking for the opportunity to share with somebody else's audience, I needed to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I started down that path, and then I would get comments like, well, if you did it, that means I can do it. You're the first person that looked like me who I heard on a podcast. It might be on Sam's podcast, right? And that's the reason, and the only reason why I do these things. I've probably been interviewed about 300 times on different podcasts. I've done numbers and numbers of conferences. I've published hundreds of episodes of my own podcast. And I don't know how many thousands of social media posts I've done, but we've done those just to help spread the message that there are people who look just like you who are doing the thing that you're interested in doing. And so that eliminates the excuse if you're using that as a reason why you aren't doing the thing. Now let's move on to the other stuff about being the best and doing all that you can with the opportunities that you have. And I think Craig's advice is pretty solid at that point. But I had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to be open to whatever scrutiny may come. And I accepted that and moved into it. So that was really the pay dirt moment for me. And, we talked about the 4-step method for buying multifamily in the past. And, was a unique challenge for, at least for me, and maybe it isn't a challenge in reality. Maybe if I went to one of the syndication courses, maybe it wouldn't matter. But for me, I grew up the son of a soldier and a stay-at-home mom. For me, I went to college with a bunch of first generation go away to school students.
Right.
And so when we start talking about accredited investors, I knew one when I started buying multifamily properties. And so this concept of raising money and people sending $25 or $50 or $100,000 checks kind of escaped me. And so what I thought was probably more valuable, and it's the path that I went down, is connecting with people where you do a joint venture And it's a group of friends who are putting together a business. And in that business, everybody's active and we're all just putting in and getting this deal done. And we own more of the deal. In concept, there's probably more risk by doing the deal. But, and I think it's a big but, you've got a bigger vested interest.
Right. Jerome, that is really cool. I love the idea, where you, the story there of going from earning to impacting and, hitting that, your sixth point there of doing something that is significant both to, yourself and those around you, the who can I help and the how can I help them mentality. And I think that is and it takes, I always say that at one point in my life, I would have said that, I didn't really care if I ever became, ridiculously wealthy. And now I'd say that that's probably not exactly accurate anymore. Like, I want to be stupid wealthy, but it's not stupid wealthy so I can just, again, buy a bigger, faster car. It's like I can do more, and I can do more good. I have this slogan written down that's I can do more good in the world as a rich person than I can as a poor one. And it's like I have to be able to earn so that I can impact. And not that I can't impact if I don't have earnings, because obviously I have learned life lessons from some of the poorest in the world, and they too have impacted me in ways that they didn't have to earn to do. But I still think that there's ways to frame the finances and the impact discussion in such a way that it brings significance. So, thanks for sharing that story with us. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, learn more about you, learn what you do, what is the best way to do that?
Everything's available at jeromemyers.co. We got a bunch of free resources for folks to, learn how to exit corporate America if that's what they want to do. If they want to learn more about our 4-step process, there's information there as well. And ways to follow us on social media and everything else. But jeromemyers.co is the hub.
Awesome. And for those of you who are listening, that is Myers, Myers. So jeromemyers.co. Jerome, thank you again for coming back on the show. As always, it's a pleasure. You bring incredible value. So thanks for doing what you do.
Sam, thanks for having me, man. This was awesome.